Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Those Astrology Girls. So, today in this episode, we are diving into part 2 of the 12 zodiac signs, where Nicole and I are exploring each of the 12 zodiac signs and specifically what they mean, how you can work with that energy in your own chart, and how you can really understand yourself better, starting with the zodiac signs. So we're going to kick off today with the sign of Libra. We went through Aries through Virgo in part 1, and today we're going to finish the series with Libra through Pisces. So again, be sure to check out part 1 if you haven't already. As you know, and as we shared in part 1, each of these signs, we have all of the signs in our chart. We're not just one sign. We're not just the signs that we have planets in, but we truly are a culmination of all 12 of these signs. It's just a matter of where these signs are showing up in our life and how these energies are showing up in our life, whether they're showing up in a really significant way because maybe we have a lot of planets in those signs, or maybe they're not super significant, but there still is something for us to learn about that energy within ourselves. So that being said, we're going to dive right into it, not waste any time today. And Nicole is going to kick us off with Libra.
Yes, I'm super excited to cover Libra through Pisces today. I feel that the most people in my life, while I have a lot of the first 6, I feel like a lot of my clients come to me, they have this second 6, like Libra through Pisces, like really strongly in their chart. And so do I. So I really vibe with this as well. So I'm excited. So Libra, okay. Everyone probably knows a Libra, and they're probably like that really nice, harmonious person in their friend group. But Libras are so much more than just like a harmonious, diplomatic person. Think charming, think balance, very savvy, like a good socially savvy butterfly. We know Gemini is a very social butterfly, but so is Libra. I mean, really just thriving on connection is their thing. They love surrounding themselves with beauty and harmony. And if you've got Libras in your life or you have these Libra qualities, you know that you have this eye that a lot of people don't have. In fact, I was hosting a workshop a couple months ago, and there were so many Libras in the workshop that I was like, oh my God, I hope these slides are nice enough for everyone on the call. Like I just wanted to appeal to their aesthetic eye. In relationships though, Libras are beautiful people in relationships. My husband is a Libra rising, and I see this, I get to experience this full time. He can be really romantic and attentive when he wants to be. And, he wants to create like this balance in our partnership. And this isn't tit for tat balance. This is like actual making sure the ground is equal for both of us. They are the sign of we. Libra is all about the we, the you and I, it's so part of who they are. They're never just thinking about themselves solely. They're always thinking of the other, which can be a really amazing quality, but can also have a little bit of a struggle for Libras because sometimes they need to just like focus on exactly what they want. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But something that may surprise people about Libra is like, they do have strength in confrontation. So a lot of the times Libra's like, no, whatever, it's fine. And that can be good that they can go with the flow, because that can be a really good superpower that they can like sit back, observe and see what's happening and take a balanced perspective and be very diplomatic and like kind of use that like justice mind in a way that's very balanced. But they can also confront when things are not going their way, when things are like, hey, this is not fair for everyone around, like this is not right, I'm going to speak up. And I think that that is a really powerful aspect of Libras. Like when we think of a Libra generation, or like those who maybe have concentrated planets in Libra, like they are fighting for that injustice, and they prefer peace, of course, but they can hold their own in a debate and be super firm when they have to be. I always laugh, like, you want to think about Libras like eye for beauty or like neutrality and things like that. And then they're super cool and relaxed and harmonious, but then like, look at Kim Kardashian. She's a Libra. She's a very strong Libra. And she's got a lot of different balancing acts to her that make it like very unique. And like, love her or hate her, like she's a really good example of all the facets that a Libra can bring forward. So where else does Libra shine? So Libra's really great at building connections. I know a lot of Libras who are excellent at like running different social circles, running different organizations. They're just really good at fostering harmony and making environments beautiful, inviting, and not only like seen environments, but felt as well. But like I said, Libras do struggle a little bit with decision making and taking in their own needs into consideration. I think of a Libra as someone who goes their entire life saying, whatever you want, whatever you prefer. but then one day they just lose it. And they're like, what about me? Like, what do I want? And it's a great question. And I'd encourage any Libra listening to this to say, okay, you know what? For a day or two, I'm going to ask myself, what do I want first? And see, how does that play out in my life? What does that feel like? What feels weird about asking, what do I want first? Because it's actually really beautiful to serve yourself as much as you're serving others. But a Libra's loves to weigh all decisions, take everything into consideration. You probably need like a hot minute to make a decision on something because you're really taking that time to balance out, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for others? What are the pros? What are the cons? And while it could be a beautiful trait, sometimes it might be like, okay, let's just make a decision and go with it. But Libra's like natural mediators. You really can get to the heart of a matter, help people figure it out, see from all sides, be that vision, but also philosophical thinkers, really, really smart people can come out of this sign. Like, I mean, every sign has smart people, don't take that the wrong way, but like Libras especially can really get deep into conversations. They can think about things differently than other signs can from an ethical perspective and really, bringing that multifaceted approach to things. And I always appreciate that with a Libra because I know that they can bring a perspective that maybe isn't evident for everybody else around us. And it's always just so, so helpful. And finally, while Libras are an air sign, and we'll talk more about that, they do have a focused drive. Like I mentioned with Kim Kardashian, like girl does not play around. Like they can get things done when they're on a mission. They're on a mission. They're taking into consideration all things. It can make a really powerful leader, even though Libra is not a sign that we like say is a magnanimous leader. Like they have great leadership qualities.
Yeah, those are really interesting takes on Libra. It's such an interesting energy for me to think about and reflect on. But I think one of the things you touched on and that just always stands out to me is just the word beauty when it comes to Libra. Like that word stands out so strong to me. Beauty in relationships, like they really just have this way of creating beauty in their relationships, specifically their one-on-one relationships. Like they are damn good at like building a one-on-one connection with someone, and just the way that they can articulate themselves, that air sign, like being communicative, like the beauty in the way that they can articulate themselves. And even just the beauty in the way they see the world and approach the world. It's almost like that designer, that architectural energy. They just have this eye, this knack for beauty in the world, and in a very like airy way, like, having that eye for design and just kind of being able to put something together like really pretty. And just, I'm even having this image of just the way that you can decorate a table, like at Thanksgiving, and the way that you set everything up. It's like the Libra just knows beauty and gets it so well.
I love that. Yeah, it's like a charming quality of theirs, like the beauty piece. It's unmatched. It really is. I mean, if Taurus loves luxury, Libra loves beauty, and together like, come in and design my house. Like, just help me out.
Well, they're both ruled by Venus. Taurus and Libra are both ruled by Venus. Venus, the planet of love, the planet of beauty, the planet of relationships. It's just in very different ways. Like Taurus's way is more earthy, and Libra really, accentuates that like relationship quality of like Venus and bringing beauty into its relationships.
I know a lot of florists who are Libras, and it just makes sense. It just works because it works. So the next one we're going to talk about, I'll be honest, guys, I feel like I'm going to be giving you all my secrets here. This one's hard for me to talk about. No, I'm just kidding. It is Scorpio. And if I am nothing other than a super Scorpio, like that is true. I've got a lot of planets in Scorpio. It rules my first house. It is a big, big, big element of my life. And, Scorpios can sometimes get a bad rap, and I'm hoping that you can listen to this and feel a little bit like, oh, wow, those are some good qualities. Don't worry, I'll tell you our struggles too. But, Scorpios are known to be intense, right? We're known to be intense, magnetic, transformative. Scorpios dive deep, right? And they thrive in the world of mystery and emotion. Now, it doesn't mean like crying hysterical emotion, just means dealing with energy in motion. Like Scorpios understand it, they can feel it. That's their vibe. The mysterious vibe, I had an astrologer tell me one time, like Scorpios wear sunglasses. They wear sunglasses so that they can see out and you can't see in. And then that can be a little bit difficult because you only can go as far with a Scorpio as they'll let you in. But in a relationship, let me tell you, Scorpios are passionate. We are loyal. We seek deep, soulful connections. And if we don't get that from somebody, it's really hard to connect on a deeper level. surface level love is not a thing. Surface level friendship is not a thing when you're with a Scorpio. You actually have to be willing to like connect on deeper topics, deeper levels. It's really, really important to us. But what surprises people, like I think people forget or like don't realize that Scorpios are actually really funny. Like underneath this intensity and this like kind of like intimidating mystery is like a lot of sharp wit and humor, because we're not afraid to be like kind of in the dark with some stuff. And so I think it makes us kind of funny. And Scorpios have like, this transformational emotional depth. Like we're able to see below the surface and point things out and say, okay, this just isn't working, or like I see the problems. And I used to work in consulting, and I told people I was paid to worry. I was paid to find problems and worry. And people would always find that to be really funny. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is perfect. Like, I really can spot the problems and I naturally just worry about them. So it gives an idea of like a Scorpio will see the beauty in everything, coming right off of that Libra energy. We'll see the beauty, we'll see the love, we'll see the fun, but we'll also be like, but there's a problem here. So that transformational emotional depth that is part of their nature can help them see and spot what needs to change and then how to actually make that change happen. Life's mysteries, chef's kiss. Like we love them. We're like, oh my gosh, tell us more. We want to know things, inquisitive. I think Scorpios are incredibly resilient and very resourceful. Like we'll figure it out no matter what, but also like not afraid to sit with somebody in a really dark time or a really hard time. They say the amount you can meet someone else is the emotional depth in which you found in yourself. And I think for Scorpios, that just comes like, I don't know, 2 to 3 steps ahead than the other person on like a natural basis. Like everyone has access to this, but I think for Scorpios, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, this is how it's going to be. Told you I would tell you where we struggle. Scorpios, we do struggle a little bit with trust, letting go, forgetting things, holding grudges. It's not a beautiful thing, but it's like, forgive and forget. Like Scorpios will forgive, but probably won't forget. And so that can be a little bit challenging when, you maybe are holding on to something that needs to be let go of to transform yourself or to reach a new emotional depth. And so like as a Scorpio, it really does help to like literally let it go, like put on Frozen and learn to let it go, because it can help you be stronger in all of the great qualities that you do have. Scorpios are also known as being super jealous, sometimes in relationships, which I don't think that's true. I just think we're so loyal and passionate about the other people that like it's jealousy may seem like it's jealousy, but it's just kind of like, no, I just love you so much, But Scorpios, they fear being vulnerable too, right? Like we don't want the other person, like I said, looking in, you don't want to be seen as deeply as you can see the others, because it puts you at risk, right? It gives you that fear of vulnerability. Thinking of our last water sign we talked about, the Cancer, being the crab who has to have that exterior hard shell. Scorpio is often represented by the scorpion who will sting, right? And scorpions can be super deadly. But, when we think about the Scorpio's transformative depth and emotional nature, if we think of the higher octave of that, that's really the phoenix, the bird, the firebird, rising from the ashes. So being able to see what no longer works, bringing it down, and then rising above that and recreating something new. And I think that's where the power is, but that requires a heck of a lot of vulnerability. So if you have Scorpio in your chart, don't be afraid of being vulnerable. Not everyone is going to betray you. It's going to be okay. But Scorpios are also known as healers, intuitives. They naturally rule that 8th house, which we'll eventually talk about, which is like very intuitive, healing space and very connected to the occult, the unseen things. And so, Scorpios, they're natural healers, but they're also really curious. That's probably why they are natural healers, because they're like, I could figure this out. Uncovering a truth, learning about a mystery, maybe true crime podcast, not my thing, but I know a lot of people like them, like things like that. It's very interesting to a Scorpio. But I think that one thing that might surprise people the most about Scorpio, and Keelie and I have talked about this about my own chart, is that we can be really playful. Even though we can sit in the depths of the dark, like Scorpios can be fun and can be really playful. We have this bubbly energy and a little bit of a lighthearted streak to us, because I feel like in order to be able to be okay with the darkness that exists, like that Gemini has originally shown us, that Scorpios can also see the light as well. And we know like where there is light, there can be no darkness, even though that illuminates the shadows. So Scorpio, a really cool dynamic sign. I've told you all our secrets. Now we're friends forever. So
Yeah, it's Scorpio energy. Whew, it is. It is powerful. Like it is so powerful. Anytime Aries gets to me like this too. Aries and Scorpio, those are like the two most uncomfortable energies for me because I feel, and not in a bad way, but like I feel like the power and the intensity. It's so funny because you're both of those. You're Aries and you're Scorpio. And I have another person that I like connect with in the business world that's also Aries and Scorpio a lot. And so it's so interesting when I find myself in that energy because I'm like, I just feel the power in that energy and I feel the depth and wow, like, I think Scorpio, you kind of spoke to sometimes the bad rap that they can get, but at the end of the day, I think it's like when Scorpio goes all in on something, they go all in on that person, on that thing, on that relationship. Like they are so loyal. And it's almost like when somebody like shatters that, like that depth, that Scorpio, like actually when Scorpio lets someone in and they're like, okay, you're in, like you're in my world. Like we are, pals, like we are in this, life together. And then it's like somebody shatters that and breaks that. And you're just like, I don't understand. Like, I just gave you my soul. And like, we are just emotionally one. Like, we are intertwined, connected. And you just did that. Like, bye. Death, rebirth, like ending. Scorpios are all about endings, right? Like, endings and new beginnings. And so, yeah, you shatter that. And it's like, no mercy. Like, bye.
I'm like, wow, have you been reading my diary? No, I'm just kidding. Our souls are one now. This is the end. Yeah. And I didn't mention this, but I am married 18 years. Well, Mark and I have been together 18 years. We married a lot of those years, but he's also a Scorpio sun. And so when people like heard like, oh, two Scorpios together, you should hear the rumors like people talk about Scorpios. And it's like, no, what actually it is, it's this like really unbreakable bond that we forged. And you know what's funny? We knew right away. If you read back our like little love notes to each other in high school, like obviously he wasn't proposing to me. It took him a long time. But like, basically we were married forever. So, I feel like a Scorpio, once you get in, you're in. I love that take.
Absolutely. Yeah, Scorpio, such a fascinating sign to me. And also such leaders. You guys really stand in your own and your ability to just kind of it's like that staying power, it's that stability, like similar. Yeah, I won't draw too many similarities across the signs, but there's just so many. But you guys just do have this ability to really stand up and be a leader in a space.
Oh, and I didn't mention one thing about Scorpio that I just remembered that like I think is the first thing every single person hears about Scorpio is about like sexual aptitude or like sexual desire and like all this. And I'm not going to say it's untrue because it's not. I just feel like there's so many other qualities about Scorpio that are like so much more than this like whole idea that they're like sex, that it's like, okay, like let's dive deeper. But like, hey, do your own research, find your own person, see how you feel.
Well, and it comes directly after Libra. And if Libra is the union and marriage, Scorpio is what is beyond that, like in the bedroom with one another, like the act of actually consummating like that marriage. Like that's kind of how, in the zodiac wheel, if you're really getting into like the technicality of it, like that's what kind of Scorpio stands for there and why. Like, but I also too, on just a different level, I think like that sex appeal, it's just more of just there's this attraction field with Scorpios. People, I think because of that depth, because of that emotional depth, it's like it's there underneath the surface, but people too, it's like, whoa, there's something like really interesting there. Like, what is that? Like, I'm so interested. And so you're just alluring and like attracting like people because they're like, what is it about you? It's like that curiosity and also that there's such power in this person and they're like trying to understand it. And it's like, what is it? So there's that too, I think, which sometimes is kind of that sex appeal that people maybe experience.
That's true. Then you hook them in.
Totally. Okay, so the next sign is Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is a fire sign, and this very much is the knowledge seeker vibe. So Sagittarius is very intellectual. It's always seeking growth through knowledge in some form. It has a very strong need to broaden its mind and expand its horizons intellectually, and whether that's through, higher educational studies, because this is the sign of the student always wanting to learn more, or if it's through just like being out in the world, going on trips, like having adventures. Exploration is something so vital for the Sagittarius energy, and specifically like that exploration of the mind. It's also funny too. Love bringing human design in, as you know, but like the gate of ideas in human design is actually one of Sagittarius's traits. And so they're really known for their ideas. Specifically, if you have gate 11, then you know that you have this, like, even more so, this trait all about that. Like, you're here to be this, like, Sagittarius with lots of ideas that you're here to share. And on a deeper level, Sagittarius energy really is on this quest for deeper meaning. It's very expansive in its thinking. And this is very much of like a philosophical energy. I think about it kind of like, Gemini and Sagittarius are opposite of one another in the zodiac wheel. So if Gemini is all about like the study of childhood education, of foundational learning, then Sagittarius is more about the study of life and of higher educational learning. So that's that contrast between that Gemini Sagittarius, similar but different, right? So Sagittarius energy just wants to be out living their life, learning, growing, discovering. It very much gives me line 3 energy and like human design vibe, like all about like exploration, experiential, maybe even a little bit of line 1 about like the studying, but mostly like, let me just be out in the world, like learning and experiencing and exploring and discovering. They're also very much, I see them as like the free-spirited optimist. Oh my goodness, Sag energy is so known for being an optimist with this very like confident, bigger than life can do attitude. Honesty is also really, really important for the Sagittarius energy. So they're really big on like telling the truth, even to the point of like coming across as like super blunt because of it. But it's just interesting. My husband is a Sagittarius, and there's so much of, as I was like reflecting on the sign of this energy, I'm like, oh my gosh, is he the optimist in this relationship? And I guess as an Aquarian, I'm kind of the pessimist. But he's like, why can't you be more positive? I'm like, this is your Sagittarius energy shining through you, like always, always, always so positive. Um, now, so when we're talking about some of the challenges that a strong Sagittarius energy in a person might experience is like, one, they've got this really strong need for freedom. And not that that's a challenge at all, but there may be challenges that come with that. So they're an energy, they don't want to be caged in. They don't want to be inhibited in any way. They're like always seeking that opportunity for expansion. It's like that expansion has to be available for them to like grasp, right? And to grow and to spread their wings and fly. Like being stuck in a job that has, no opportunity for growth, being stuck in like a suffocating, controlling, jealous relationship, not the vibe. Sagittarius energy has like such this like independent spirit that like they have this need to have this freedom to explore and to discover without being restricted, without being tied down. If a Sagittarius feels tied down by a relationship, they're like, bye. You're not going to hold me back from like going out in the world and doing what I came here to do and exploring and letting my mind just like fly free, right? So that being said, again, there can be a little bit like, because of this like fear of being tied down, of losing their sense of freedom, there can be this resistance and this kind of aversion to commitment. And so like all the mutable signs, again, we're going to have more episodes that talk about what's a fixed sign, what's a cardinal sign, what's a mutable sign. But Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius being the mutable sign, the way actually, because I've described all of these, I've talked about each of these, they're all this like, there's this natural restlessness that I talked about with each one of them. And there's this need, for the Sagittarius to be on the go. And so this tendency perhaps to hop too quickly from one thing to another, whether that be like tasks, maybe that's a relationship, whether that's like homes, whatever that is, there may be this like tendency to feel restless and in this area of life. And you're just kind of like hop, 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 like let me just hop to the next thing. And so there's an opportunity really here to ground in and just kind of, have this like, to be mindful where you want to commit your energy and ensuring that it's like supporting you and still being yourself while also not fearing the commitment and not fearing maybe the lack of freedom that could come without giving it the full opportunity to see if it can be supportive and even supporting you in the growth that you truly desire, right? Because relationships are truly, I think about in terms of relationships specifically, and in relationships how Sagittarius, that maybe there's that fear of fully committing itself and losing its freedom. But relationships are how we grow, and ultimately Sagittarius energy wants to grow. It wants to explore. It wants to expand its horizons, and relationships can really help us dig a little bit deeper into some of those fears and say, how can I grow through this relationship and step into a version of myself that can be in relationship in a really expansive way. So, ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion and abundance, another way that we can think about this flavor of abundance that Jupiter infuses Sagittarius with is with this like energy of excess. Okay. So Sagittarius energy may be a bit excess with its energy in some way, shape, or form. And maybe that's through overindulgence of something outside of it, or maybe it's just in like its over bluntness, right? We talked about how honest it is and how blunt it is. Like maybe it's like too blunt, too fast, too big. Or maybe it's this like excessive need to like, okay, I got to jump ship and I got to, the moment you start to get bored in something too, that's another relation or a thing that maybe in a relationship or a job or something that you're doing, you're like, I'm bored, I'm on to the next, like, give me something interesting. It's just thinking about in what way, is excess or overindulgence showing up for you? If you have strong Sagittarius energy in your chart, and where's there maybe an opportunity for you to practice either commitment or like a little bit of just even self-control, right? Maybe it's not even called commitment, but it's like, where can I practice a little bit of like self-control here and not be like hop, 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 super restless, but really just kind of reflecting on where you feel that excess energy coming through and where it's really like driving you and kind of pushing you to take action. Is there an opportunity for self-control there? Okay, so what's something maybe you don't know, or maybe a lot of people don't know about Sagittarius energy is just how charismatic these individuals are. They're really strong sense of humor. They're just highly contagious. And I am just gonna like brag on my husband because I'm just like, I watch how other people are so drawn to him, and I'm like, he's just got that big aura, big energy field. And I noticed that among so many Sagittarians too, is just how big, again, we're talking Jupiter here. Jupiter is such this like big energy. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. It is this big auric field that Sagittarius energy has. And so I also like to think about it as like Santa Claus energy because it's just so joyful. It's so vibrant. It's fun to be around. People love to be around a strong Sag energy person because again, they've just got that sense of humor. They're really enthusiastic, really charismatic, and happy and optimistic. And who doesn't want to be around that? And then the last thing I'll touch on is just kind of where they shine, like where their strengths are. And so much of that is just coming up with their ideas, seeing the big picture. They're very much big picture viewers. And also, they're really good at setting future targets and then achieving them, right? Maybe they're not so focused like in the details, like in the moment, but boy, do they know how to set a future target using that big picture view that they have, and then being able to go after and achieve that target. So they're always, I feel like their manifesting power is so big because just again, that like expansive and attractive auric field really is drawing people in, drawing opportunities in, drawing experiences in. And so if anything, really attuning, if you have strong Sagittarius, it's like, wow, I have this like really intellectually philosophical mind that also can see really big picture and can also see out into the future, like zoom out into the future, set a goal, and really be able to make that happen and work towards achieving that.
Sagittarius is like a really cool sign, but like one of those ones that, like you and Scorpio and stuff, like I have no mutable energy in my entire chart, like zero. So when I hear about these things, I'm like, I love being around these people. But to me, understanding their energy comes through knowing people with that, so it's so fascinating. And, Sagittarius is depicted by the archer, it's like literally sending a fire arrow into the sky. It's like, look, like they're really expansively seeing into what could be. And it's such a beautiful perspective. I think something so important for Sagittarians is like, what is your intrigue factor? How intrigued are you by life? Not just like what makes you intriguing, but like how intriguing is your life? How intriguing is what you're learning? Because if you're not intrigued, you are stagnant. And that must feel like a slow death, for a Sagittarius. And that's like that song, like, she's a runner, she's a track star comes on in my mind. Like if a Sagittarian is bored or like you said, they're going to just run. And so that can be really hard for them to achieve all that they're here to set out to achieve if they're not intrigued or not, looped in. And so, something else I find so, so beautiful about Sagittarius people is that they are so accepting. They are so accepting of other people, other cultures, ideas, just wild off the wall things. Like they're like, oh, cool. Like super. Oh, you want to sit next to me? Sure. Come on. Like very cool, because I think they've seen so much, or they're so accepting of so much that they're just like, very, very welcoming. Like I feel like you'd end up going somewhere like you don't know anyone and like sit down and talk, and they'd probably be like a Sagittarius or Gemini, but either way. And they're that like really just a welcoming presence, because like you said, that Santa Claus energy is like, you're just attracted to them.
I feel like the Sagittarius energy, if you had all the signs or just a bunch of signs sitting around a dinner table, the Sagittarius for sure would be the most interesting one. Like with all the philosophical questions and like existential questions and like, deeper meanings of life. And you're just like, oh my gosh, who is this person? But they're just like that wise old soul and that's just having really great conversation for sure.
Yeah, their lore would be like super like big. They'd be like, oh, on this one time in Tibet. And you'd be like, what?
Oh, for sure. The most interesting person at a dinner table for sure.
Love it. Well, Sagittarian, super cool vibes. We love that. And then we move into Capricorn. I love a Capricorn. I think this is like a really, really great sign. The sign, to me, Capricorns are builders. They are master architects building over a lifetime. They just have this different vibe about them, very much a boss vibe. But I know a lot of Capricorns are really cool too, like not so serious, but they're also can get down and be determined, disciplined, wise beyond their years. Like I feel like they age backwards. They start out as like a little child in a suit, and then they grow up to be kind of like cool, like on the playground. But Capricorn's whole life and mission is about building long-term, scalable, sustainable success. And it's just like we joked about Taurus, like one day, like having all this money to retire. Capricorn knew every step of the way, like how much money they had, when they were going to retire. They have a spreadsheet. Like they know, like it is so ingrained in them, like what they're building and what they're doing. Like they're just really, really good at that, and seeing that future plan play out. Like the map is just closely there for them. So Capricorn is often depicted as a goat because they're really good at literally climbing and scaling mountains. Like, goats, you wonder, you're like, how did that goat get up there? And it's just like easy. They just like hop, 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 and they just do it. They're not afraid. Capricorns in relationships are really steady and dependable, especially like a Capricorn friend. Like you can guarantee if you're like, hey, we're going to have dinner at this time, like they're going to show up 5 minutes early. But in love, it's like a slow burn. It's like a slow burn, like no rush at all. It's interesting, like it's an interesting thing because like they see the future. Maybe they don't feel like they need to rush. But Capricorns definitely show affection through acts of service. Like it's super important to them to show like proving it. Like I'm proving the way that I love you. They might not be the most vocal of like a friend or a lover or whatever, but they are definitely like solidly there. Like I think of a Capricorn sometimes as like, if you think of a rock, right? And it's like a big boulder and it's like solid presence. It's like hasn't washed away, hasn't eroded. But then like one day someone like cracks that rock open and it's like a beautiful geode inside. And it has like all these crystals. Like that's how I see a Capricorn. Hard on the outside, but inside just like so beautiful, so surprising. You're like, whoa, glitter everywhere. I think something that surprises people about Capricorn a little bit is like their sense of humor. Similar to Scorpio, like what can appear as like very dry and serious and like sometimes self-deprecating. I feel like Capricorns can be very like, no, I'm not that great, or like, whatever. But they have like a wit, that makes them really funny, but also like able to connect with people in a different way. Like that dry humor, like is really funny about a Capricorn. And I think it makes them kind of like multidimensional, because you can see a Capricorn just like being really focused and a determined presence in any scenario. I mean, think of like, I don't like to talk about tons of celebrities, but like Taylor Swift, she's got a ton of Capricorn energy in her chart. She is a Sagittarius, but she has a ton of Capricorn energy in her chart. And I was like blown away when I saw this, because there's this certain time, I was also born in this time, from 1988 to like 1991, there's a whole generation of people who have a ton of Capricorn in our charts. And now this is like unprecedented, like the amount. And usually it's like Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, kind of all together in Capricorn. And it's like a superpower generation. And so many of those astrology girls probably listening have that, or have at least 2 of those planets in Capricorn. Or a boss generation, like of women, like this is a really cool time to have those planets and to have that energy that like we can see the long game here. Where does the Capricorn shine? We've talked about this so much, but like achieving goals, getting things done, creating foundations and structures, just like an Aries creates a really great foundation, to start things off and to spark things, and Taurus actually builds on that foundation. Capricorns are like, okay, time to put the roof on. Like, let's keep it moving. Like, they're making sure the whole structure gets built. They're keeping the schedule. They're making the time, but they're bringing this wisdom to the whole building game. They're not just like slapping things together. They're making sure it's done right. And Capricorns are really strong. Like, you can count on a Capricorn in a crisis. If something goes wrong and you like need someone to call 911 or like do something, like chances are the Capricorns got it. Like, do not fear. If something's happening, they're already like 3 steps ahead. And that is a super admirable quality. Calm under pressure, does not falter. But sometimes Capricorns can struggle in balancing like the personal life they truly desire and like what they really want from like building what they're working on. It's hard to see both. I can see like very narrow, like tunnel vision there, because their drive to success can cause burnout. And if they're not honest with exactly what they want, they can end up getting lost in the sauce of what they're building and ignore everything else and being like, oh, wow, it would have been really nice if I thought about like me and what I wanted, but like 20 years too late, like it's like you need to take that time to focus now. And so if you're a Capricorn listening to this, just be like, hey, actually, similar to what I said for Libra, what do I need right now? What do I want? And like, what feels hard about that? What's going on here that like maybe it feels like I can't stop this work to do anything else? That's simply not true. You have a master plan, trust in the master plan, and that master plan includes you. And so as a Capricorn, you need to prioritize you a bit more and make sure that you're steady, you're stable, you're scalable, because if not, none of this stuff's going to get done without you. So we need you. Stay strong. Something I think people would be a little bit surprised to think about Capricorns. I think Capricorns are really sentimental. I think they're like the keepers of memories and things, and they because they've seen so much, because they can see the vision of where things are going. Like, I see the Capricorn as the person like at the family party with like the camcorder. They're like, I want to remember this, like, so as much as you might be focused on what you're building, like you want to document it too. You want to know what's going on. They can be kind of reserved, but I feel like they're observing in this beautiful, nostalgic and like emotional way. Capricorns are not all work, they're definitely not all play, but I think they have this really tender quality to them that any one of them listening would be like, no, but like a little bit, like as they're hanging up like that one special ornament on their tree every year going like, oh, but like nobody would see them like drop the tear. But they're also visionary leaders and, really endlessly creative. I find that working with Capricorns is so fun because they catch you off guard. Like, not only are they like way ahead of the curve, like they've got everything done, but then they like have this like interesting idea that you're like, well, damn, I would have never thought about that. And not only do they have these amazing creative ideas, but they know how to get them done and actually execute, and they're realistically planned. So it's like, sign me up to work on a team of Capricorns. That's awesome.
The way that you described the Capricorn energy, where you talked about just their tenderness and just how sentimental they are, that really rang for me, because there are some strong Capricorn people in my life. And I am like, wow, did that hit the nail on the head? Like, they really do. They care so much about the people in their corner, and like they will go jump through hoops in order, and that's just their nature too. Like, they do the impossible. So when you're talking about someone in their corner or their people, like, they show up for you 110%. Like, they don't half-ass anything. And so they're definitely not going to half-ass your relationship with them, your friendship with them. Like, they show up wholeheartedly, whether it's as a parent, as a friend, as a partner, as a CEO of a company, as a business owner, whatever it is. Capricorn energy, strong Capricorn energy is someone truly that like can be counted on. And I love them for that. Like to your point, like surrounding yourselves with like a team of Capricorns, it is like you know that you're solid.
Absolutely. I would build a team of like definitely like 1 to 2 Virgos, Capricorn, and then we'd need like a little spice. So probably like a Sagittarius. Just give me like a couple of everyone. I'd be like, it's like picking out bagels. Like you're like, oh yeah, like I'll take 2 of those, 2 of
It'd
those.
be
Like,
so fun for us to like line up all the signs and then like say, and maybe we could do an episode on this. That'd be fun.
yeah.
But we could say like, okay, they're all on a team together. Here's exactly like how they're all showing up. Because I think too, like for those of us who are, even just in your career or in your life or in your business, like knowing how each of these signs, especially like for the signs that show up really strong in your chart, it's really valuable to know like this is how this person operates.
Absolutely. It would be so fascinating to see because like even just thinking of my own chart and how everyone's showing up together and I'm like, we could use a few more pieces.
Well, and even just knowing our big three, like our sun, our moon, and our rising, it's understanding that these are all qualities we're bringing to a table. It's not even just sun sign, but I mean, all of these qualities, are things that we're bringing to the table. And I'm in that generation too. How you talked about, I've got my Uranus and my Neptune and Capricorn. I'm like, yeah, I'm here to be a boss babe.
Exactly. And we're here to like dispel like what that previously looked like in a very highly patriarchal society. And I'm not talking about patriarchal like in just the past like 50 years. I'm talking like 400 years of that kind of ruling. Like the feminine is rising and we have to realize that like the power we have, like so many of us came here at this time with that really concentrated amount of evolutionary and personal planets to be like, it's time to make a difference and to figure out like what does showing up mean for us and how are we going to scale this mountain in front of us, whatever it may be, in a way that's super true to us. And it's super fun and exciting. And I just like when I learned about that generation, I was like, oh wow, that actually is a huge, huge ask. Like when we were all like ready to go, we're like, I volunteer, like let's do it. And then we're all like coming down the slide together as a nice cohort and we're like, woohoo, I just think that that's like an impactful thing to say yes to.
Absolutely. So the next sign is Aquarius. And Aquarius, despite it having aqua in its name, you guys, Aquarius is indeed an air sign. So this is a really friendly, social, loves to be connected and loves to be involved in its community. It's very easy to get along with Aquarian energy. They're also fun to be around because they just have this really like cool, easygoing demeanor about them. They're just all around just easy to be around. And that is, unless you try to control them or tell them what to do, then that's when their favorite word becomes a no. And I know this all too well. Not because they don't want to do it or because like they don't want to help, but because they want it to be their own choosing if they do something, not because somebody else is like telling them to do something. So yeah, I can relate. Okay, but all that said, they really do well being in groups, being in community with other people, and they have a really strong, solid sense of social awareness. They are the visionaries of the zodiac. They're always envisioning a brighter and a more ideal future for the collective. And there's also this really like strong humanitarian nature in the Aquarian energy because they just want to help and they want to be of service and they want to use their powerful intellect and their powerful mind in a way that can really benefit all of humanity. And so when it comes to Aquarian strengths, I mentioned their powerful intellect, and that's because their mind is truly one of their greatest assets. They're highly intellectual and creative as visionaries, and they have such a gift for being able to understand more complex topics like science, mathematics, technology, and also even things like astrology and the extraterrestrial and anything that you deem weird. Aquarians are going to eat that up. Aquarians, how they're here to shine, though, they're really here to shine by being different and by being an individual, by standing apart from the crowd completely, by really leading their own way, paving their own path, and doing things in their own way. They are not the sign that's here to play life by the books because they require so much freedom of expression, which is why they also make really great activists too. If they feel that they need to be the voice for a specific cause or to bring about a specific change in the world, then they'll give a voice to that cause. Do you see the little rainbow that's coming through right now? I'm like, oh, I love that.
Oh no, I don't. I do. Yeah. Wow, how beautiful. I had to expand you.
If you're listening or watching this on YouTube, I've got like a beautiful little rainbow that the sunlight is creating in my.
The Aquarian energy is so strong. Just like, yes.
I'm like, I can't just not like soften, just notice how beautiful that is right now. Speaking of which, yes, so they are here to be the voice for the causes that they care about or to really bring about change in the world and really give voices to these things that aren't having a voice because again, freedom of expression, so important to them and to the causes that they believe in. They're here to be a bit of a rule breaker. Can't not speak about this. Again, they love the word no because they don't want to conform. Okay. If saying yes means conforming to the status quo, then you can bet they're the ones that are going to be like, nope, I'm going in the opposite direction. Not going with everyone else, going in my own way, paving my own path over here. These individuals who have strong Aquarius energy, they're not followers, but they also don't want to be followed either. So Aquarius is opposite of Leo in the zodiac. Okay. So both of these signs are very strong or are similar in that they're very strong with their leadership qualities. But Aquarius gives me line 6 human design vibes where they're just going to lead themselves. And they're going to lead themselves in a really individual way, like a role model. They're going to lead as a role model, meaning they're not leading by telling anyone what to do. They're not leading by like putting themselves in the spotlight. They're just living their life the way that they should be living it and the way that they think the world should be living life. And then others follow. Okay, they role model for others what it means to live life in a way that is like them or in a way that they feel is like impactful. So they're not going to draw attention to themselves because ultimately they just want everyone to be the leader of themselves. That's why they don't want to lead anyone. They're like, hey, yeah, like here, I'll role model what it looks like to lead yourself because I want the people, I want everyone to show up as individuals and lead themselves. So they're really great at leading others and learning how to lead themselves as individuals in the world. And especially as we are entering into this age of the individual, this new age is all about leading ourselves. So that Aquarian energy, we got Pluto entering into Aquarius, being in this Aquarian age too, like this energy, this need to be an individual, to have our own freedom of expression, our unique expression out into the world is very much this like Aquarian energy that we're all going to be infused with over the next 20 years throughout this age of the Aquarius, while Pluto's in Aquarius. So in relationships, Aquarians really do make the best friend. They do. Even those that they're in partnership with, friendship is so important to the Aquarian. And it makes sense. Like I've been with my husband since freaking high school. We were friends before we were even together, but it's like that friendship is there. And like, that's why we've been together for as long as we have, because we just have that friendship. And I'm like, yes, that's what my Aquarian energy needs in partnership. And so I really, had a personal connection to that specifically. But they also, similar to kind of what I talked about with Sagittarius energy, is that they have a really strong need for freedom in their relationship as well. Aquarius, has a significant need. We talk about freedom, but like they have this really strong need for independence, okay? Independence in the form of freedom in life and in relationships. So, I said before, like Aquarius loves to be engaged with others. They love helping others. They love supporting others, but there still is this bit of like an emotional barrier that can exist in order to maintain that level of independence, even like in their relationships, especially in emotionally intense relationships or situations. It can feel really overwhelming and suffocating for, the really like independent natured Aquarian because they just want to keep things rational, right? And on one hand, this is a gift because Aquarians can really detach emotionally in order to help and like provide support in a really like logical and objective way. Objectivity is a really great gift of the Aquarians. But on the other hand, it can make it really challenging for, strong Aquarians to really lean into like their own emotions sometimes because of that detachment and even keeled kind of temperedness. It can be harder for them to like feel their own emotions, to lean into their emotions and like know how to fully express their emotions. And also even letting others in to form these like deep, really, emotional connections and bonds with others. So this can be just one of like the struggles for the Aquarian energy is just their detachment from emotions, which again can kind of keep them from going into the deeper. And I keep thinking of like Scorpio. I'm like, here's Scorpio's going deep. And I'm like, oh wow, like a Scorpio with an Aquarian, like that would be a really interesting just relationship to look at too, because Aquarians do have it in them, right? we're not just Aquarian energy. I'm like thinking myself, I'm like, I totally related to a chapter in my life where like I was so detached from my emotional self. I was like, I'm not emotional. And then I learned astrology and I learned about my Pisces moon and I learned about all my other energy. And I'm like, oh, there's a really sensitive side to me. There's like a side to me that really can feel. And while, yes, I can do a beautiful job at detaching from my emotions and coming into a situation with a really rational and objective view, and I'm really good at keeping things even keeled. My coach that I'm working with actually just told me that. He's like, you have this like really even keeled, like even when you're talking about something that's like shaky, you're just like flat about it. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, but it's also a very just natural response for Aquarian. So, and it's a gift, right? It can be a gift. So, it's understanding how to use that gift while also knowing how to tap into your emotions and go a bit deeper and let people in, especially those Scorpios in your life too, like letting them in, letting them in deeply. Um, okay, so the thing that people don't really know about the Aquarian sign is that the Aquarius is the symbol of Aquarius is the water bearer, which represents an individual pouring out the waters of knowledge for the benefit of all humanity. Oh, when I found out that was the sign of Aquarius, I loved it so much because it felt so resonant for me as an Aquarius too. Like Aquarius energy is here on earth to ultimately share their unique idealistic visions of how things should be. Again, they're the visionary, they're unique in their thinking. So, sharing those unique idealistic visions of how things should be, and then using their intellect and their knowledge to bring about this revolutionary change that can really change the world and bring the change that they desire to see in the world.
I love your take on Aquarius. I have an Aquarius North node, which means that's where I'm headed in this lifetime, but that is the only Aquarius I have in my chart. And it's just so beautiful to hear your take on it as that being your home frequency. It's just really, really special. You know, when I think of Aquarius, like the first thing that always comes to mind is we rise together. We rise together, like there is nobody left behind. And I think that's such a beautiful energy that Aquarians bring. And, you know, even though it is so individual, it is that individual leadership, leading yourself, but it's also like, I'm not going to leave you behind. Like, I'm going to show you how to do it. Like you said, and I think that that's super important. They say, teach a man to fish, he'll never go hungry, right? That's so Aquarian in nature. Like, I'm going to teach you how to do this and you'll be good. You know, when I think of Aquarian fashion, you know, I think of fashion being, and it's so funny. It's like, we don't want to stand out, but like a lot of Aquarians really stand out, really stand out with this avant-garde, you know, way about them. And it's like, they're not dressing a certain way to stand out. They're just expressing themselves in such a different and unique way that like, you know, I just think of like moon boots, you know, like it's just like that. It's the first thing that comes to mind, and like really like shiny clothes and like different cool stuff. And it's not to say that all Aquarians dress like this. Obviously, Keelie does not, but like it is, you know, it's like a really cool hallmark, I think, of like someone who has heavy Aquarius energy in their chart. I also love that Aquarians are anti-cult. I really do. I think that's like such an interesting like take. Like they're like, please don't follow me. Like, no, we're good. Like it's, and not to say that Leo is cult leader, but like it's just like, you know, helping us see where we could be like tapped into something that might be a little bit like uneven in power, right? Like a cult environment. And then also when I think of Aquarians, like I think of open source content. I think of like open source software just available, you know, like open libraries, Wikipedia vibes, right? Like we're all supporting this thing together, but you know, it's up to you to discern what information you take. So those are my observations on Aquarians, but I think like the coolest sign. And I also have one of my best friends is an Aquarian, a French Aquarian. And so she is very like to the point, direct and all this stuff. And me as a Scorpio, I'm like, let's go deeper.
Let's like fill into the emotional side of all of this.
Exactly. And she's like, wow, like you really see me. I was like, thank you for letting me see you, you know, because it's a different vibe when you can really connect like that. And then just seeing the way she thinks is like, oh my gosh, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, those are so great. So, the final sign of the zodiac that we are talking about today is Pisces. Okay, so Pisces, they are the dreamers of the zodiac. They're imaginative, creative, intuitive, artistic, enchanting. I really see Pisces as being like the most magical of the zodiac signs. These individuals with strong Pisces they're ethereal, they're otherworldly, and their connection to the dream world in their own imagination and what lies beyond, it can sometimes be a little bit challenging for them to be able to like drop into the day-to-day in the mundane world, because that energy of just like being so deeply connected to the imagination and the other world and the ethereal aspects of life can be really strong for them, right? So there with that too is just kind of sharing a little bit of like the struggle there is like with Pisces, there can be a little bit of like this escapism energy that can come through. And so, that's just something to like be mindful of and to manage if that's something that you have strong Pisces and you're like really struggling to be in this like material world and you're finding yourself like escaping a lot and using different, outlets to just kind of find an escape from being in this human form and in this world. That's something to just reflect on and consider, and maybe just look for opportunities to find grounding, being in this like human body and in this human form. When we think about all three of the water signs, we've got Cancer, we've got Scorpio, we've got Pisces. And I was like, it's so interesting thinking about all three of these, because Cancer is so much about like feeling in the body, like the body holding the energy of what you feel in conversation and in connection with others. And then I see like Scorpio is so much about feeling like what's deep beneath the surface, right? Like what's unseen, what's hidden, what's unspoken. Like Scorpio senses that, Scorpio feels that. And so then Pisces, I see it as more of like beyond, right? If Scorpio's like beneath the surface and Cancer's in the body, Pisces is like, what's going on in the beyond? What am I connected to that's like source and the divine and spirit and everything that's above and beyond that we only dream about, right? Like it's like being in the dream world. It's just so ethereal in that way. So in relationships, Pisces is the total hopeless romantic. Like they love love and they want to be romance, like kiss in the rain kind of romance, That's their dreamy side, like coming through for sure. But it's just very like soft, sensual, sweet, delicate, very affectionate. It's almost like gives me like puppy love vibes, like very just cute and cuddly and puppy. But they're also really too, like they are so sentimental because their heart can be like so easily touched by like the smallest of things. That's their sensitivity there. They truly are the most compassionate people that you can ever meet. They are very self-sacrificing and willing to put the needs of others before their own. And that's because they feel the beyond. They feel the collective. They feel the feelings of others so deeply, and they feel that pain. The rest of the world is going through it. They're feeling that. The collective is going through it. They're feeling that. The group, the people that they're in are really struggling and hurting and in pain. They feel that, which is why so many Pisces are so big into, charitable work or helping others that are in need, like the homeless, for example. It's because they feel that pain. That is their pain. The world's pain is their pain. That's their level of sensitivity there. That's truly a gift. And in relationship too, kind of on that same note, when you're thinking about a Pisces in relationship one-on-one with another, it can be really overwhelming for, the Pisces to feel that much, especially when they're feeling all that pain of others. And so sometimes because they feel so much, they can be quick to people please, because they just want everyone to be happy. They don't want to have to feel the hurt, the heartache, like the frustrations of other people. Like there can be that people pleasing that comes through. And so people pleasing can be one of Pisces' biggest challenges too, because they're sacrificing their own needs for the needs of others in situations where they, perhaps like they don't want to rock the boat because they don't want to have to feel like the big emotions or the feelings or the pains that the other person might feel if like they speak up or like they speak their truth or they say something or do something that maybe rocks the boat of like the other person. And so, going back into Pisces sensitivity, it really is like, it's so significant. And again, it truly is one of their greatest gifts, but it can be uncomfortable for them to feel so much. When I think about the Pisces energy, I think about like the reflector in human design being so completely open, because Pisces has this gift of being able to really merge feelings with another. And it's why they're so beautifully compassionate and why they're so beautifully loving and why they have such a big heart. Because again, when the world's in pain, they're in pain. Like they feel what the collective feels. And so having strong boundaries for Pisces is so, so, so important. Being able to know your boundaries, like stand strong in your boundaries, being able to say no for others. Yes, you're so amazing at helping others and like showing compassion by self-sacrificing yourself for others. And it's also important for you to nurture yourself back and know how to set those boundaries and know when somebody is taking advantage of how giving you are and how selfless you are. It's being able to hold the boundaries there. And when you are feeling merged with another, because it's just the reality of that Pisces energy, you merge, you feel, you connect, you become one. You're one with the collective, you're one with the other. Boundaries so that you can feel yourself, right? So that you know who you are and who is the other, and that you are different. You still are your own person. Strengths, though, strengths with Pisces, and truly how they came here to shine is they came here to shine creatively and to quite literally spread beauty out into the world through the work of their heart, whether that be through charitable work, selfless, serving of the homeless or other communities, or through even creative projects like movies or story or poetry or anything of that nature. Their strength lies like so strongly in their dream worlds and in their imagination. It is unmatched from any of the other signs. And even it can be stronger than reality, as I kind of talked about, like maybe struggling to kind of be in reality, but like that's something to actually take into your advantage, is like using that to your advantage. So your creative imagination, really, it's so important for it to have an outlet, right? Ground all that wateriness, like that connection to the divine and the source, or just whatever is above your dream world, your imagination. Finding an outlet to ground that into this like human form and use it to create change, like in this three-dimensional world and reality for you. So finding that creative outlet is so key. And it's also how you're here to bring change in the world, is through sharing your creative dreams. So I even think too, like so many movie creators, like story writers, musicians, artists, all of them like have really strong Pisces energy. And that's just one of the ways that you can just ground that beauty into human form. And then also using that sensitivity that I talked so much about, using that as your gift, because it is your gift to understand the problems of others so deeply. If anyone can understand the problem of another, it's a Pisces, because they literally feel it. Like they know the problem of someone else. So they feel that, and then they dream up the solution for that problem, and then they creatively share it out into the world. Okay, so this ability to feel the problems of the collective, dream up a solution, and then creatively share it out in the world, like, wow, that is such a gift. And that is the purpose of this Pisces energy in this world. And so what maybe you don't understand or know about a Pisces is just, just their compassion, which I talked about. But again, just like their compassion for the world, for the people, the collective, the innocent. That's the kind of compassion that this world needs, especially in this day and age. Like a strong Pisces individual, in so many words, like came here to be a kind of savior and someone who's devoted to creating change in this world through the power of their heart. Because their heart and their compassion and their devotion like is the magic that this world truly needs. And they dream of the world being a happier and a more loving place. They do. That's their dream. They just want everyone to love each other and to be happy and to be good. They want good in the world. And as I was reflecting on all of this and just the dreaminess, I started thinking, the I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King Jr. came through. I was like, I wonder if he was a Pisces. And so I looked it up and I saw that he was actually a Capricorn sun, but he's a Pisces moon. And I was like, if that just doesn't speak right there to just his leadership and like those words of like what his dream was for the world, that's what a Pisces is here to do, to dream up a better world and share it.
Wow. That's so beautiful. It really is. When I think of a Pisces, I think of like, we have the body, right? We have the physical body, and like, then you have the spirit, which is way bigger than the body, way, way bigger. And then we have the soul, which is so infinite. But the Pisces person is literally embodying the spirit. Like that is so as they're walking around, like they're playing bumper cars, like with every single thing they're encountering. And it's like a lot of input for what they have. And that makes so much sense as to like you said, they're really feeling every single thing. And, Pisces can be so sensitive because of that. When I think of Pisces, I think of like, okay, meet me in the astral. Okay, meet me in the primordial sea. Like they're not afraid to like, should we have coffee at 2 in the astral? Sure. Like, like just very like otherworldly and beautiful, and able to go there and hold that. But also, like you said, when they're really rooted in this 3D world, they can bring such beautiful change and vision to it. And it's funny, you said like a lot of Pisces are movie makers. Like one of the first things I wrote down is I was just like, oh, how do I want to respond to Pisces? It's like, oh, like Pisces are animators to me. they animate our stories, they animate our lives, they animate so many different things, and it's because they have such a vision. And if you think of animation, it takes such a specific vision and like little movements and little things to make it perfect and to make it make sense and to make it come to life. And I think a Pisces is so gifted at making those things that like me as a super Scorpio Aries like just cannot imagine. Like fantasy, I'm like, unless I can see it play out on a screen, like I'm like, I don't fully grasp this. And I think that that is just such a beautiful quality. I also see Pisces as highly psychic, visionary, connected in a way, but you know, some of them don't believe it. They don't believe that they have that, you know? So it's like, if you're afraid of it, don't be afraid of it, because I think it's just so natural to you. It's like that is like actually your natural state of like seeing and knowing and feeling on such a like clairsentience level that like you don't actually have to source this information, like it is within you. You're already doing it just by existing. Yeah, Pisces, just such a dreamy person to have in your life and such a beautiful presence, because they really do feel and they can connect and empathize in such a beautiful way. You know, the escapism that can sometimes occur with Pisces, I agree. Like you can get past that with some grounding, right? And whether that is not getting lost in the sauce. Don't get lost in the sauce because you're trying to avoid your human needs. That is really a big trait I see with a lot of people that I know who are Pisces. They're like, God, this human body is like so much to deal with. Like I have to eat and I have to sleep and I have to drink water. And it's like, I kind of chuckled when I heard someone say that, but like I actually realized that they were very serious. Like they were very like, oh, like that's a lot for me to tend to. And I was like, oh wow, okay, so this is a mega challenge. And I wasn't judging, but I thought they were joking a little bit, because I was like, haha, it's so hard to drink water. And then they were like, no, but really. And I was like, oh, okay, I was like, really got it. And so thinking of that, I just love to remind Pisces, like, yes, you are here and you are there. Like you have a hand here and a hand in the other world, like, because you have access. But you chose to come to Earth for a reason. So master this humanity that you have. And like Keelie said, like really use and lean into your heart. And I think that that is like, that heart-led life will help you connect more to that, you know, the darn human things we all have to do.
Yeah, this was such a great conversation. And I just love just the different, you know, takes and perspectives that we bring to the table. And that's like why, Nicole, I love this podcast. We talked about just this episode and we were like, we have such different ways that we talk about these signs. And I was like, but that's what's going to make it so great. And like why both of us like bringing just our unique perspectives into like each of these signs, and just kind of, we just feel like we were able to provide like this like very holistic, well-rounded view. And also just, yeah, in two different ways, because our minds think so differently. And I love it. I eat it up.
Same. I think it's so fun. And it's like, it's interesting too, because if you've learned something differently in astrology, totally give yourself room to say, oh, yeah, what makes sense to me? Because obviously Keelie and I have had very different teachers. We're also self-taught in many ways, and we have different resources. We also just have completely different perspectives. Like all the planets that Keelie has, I do not have really a lot of any of her energy, and same vice versa. So this is just giving you multiple mirrors, multiple lenses to see this through, but also like, what do you think? You know, what do you know? What have you learned? And really take that into consideration. We asked these questions at the end of the last episode, but I want to repeat them again in case you're just listening to these signs. You know, something to consider as you've listened to these second six signs is like, what sign stands out to you the most in your chart? What one resonates the least? Can you see these traits in people closest to you? And then also remember, we're so much more than our sun sign. And so remember to look at your moon, your rising sign, and how it plays into everything overall. But of course, if you know your chart, if you're one of those astrology girls like veterans, see where all the planetary influences are coming in and how much of this you see yourself in your own chart.
And I'll add to that, you know, especially if you're new to astrology, and this was kind of like the first time that you just went through all the signs, there's likely some things that you were like, I have this in my chart and I don't resonate. And I just want to reiterate, I think I shared this in the first episode, but I want to reiterate that that's normal. And that is so completely normal. And the thing that I love the most about astrology is that this isn't another personality test where you're getting results based on what your mind already knows about you. Like this is actually showing pieces of your soul and of who you came here to be as a soul, who your soul wanted you to come here to be or invited you to come here to be. And so astrology is really this beautiful opportunity to maybe meet yourself in a new way and in a way that you've never met yourself before. That's why I became so passionate about astrology, is because I met parts of myself, like my Pisces, and have even stepped more into my Aquarius energy. I met so many parts of myself. And in some ways, it's been a complete permission slip. And in other ways, it's just been an opportunity for me to like ask myself some questions. Like, why is it that I don't think I'm an emotional person? Again, I don't, this was at the very beginning of my journey when I discovered astrology. That question was shattered. I used to believe I was not an emotional person, literally. And then I found out I had this like sensitive little Pisces moon and this Pisces Venus. And I'm like, what? I'm not emotional. But I use that not to like shut down astrology, but to just think, maybe there is something there.
Absolutely. Astrology unlocked so much for me, and it helped me see people so deeply in a different way, and helped me realize that there was so much that could be explained, but also unlocked with this knowledge within ourselves, like you said, to meet ourselves in a new way. And, whether it's a permission slip or whether it's an invitation to explore yourself in a new way, I think it really gives a new world, a new language, something so ancient, it's funny to call it new, but like a new awareness to ourselves. Like I didn't resonate with a lot of my placements when I first saw them, because I just was like, this is so concentrated and so specific and so important that I recognize, like I have 5 placements, like planets and luminaries in Scorpio. I have 4 in Capricorn. And then the rest are just, moon in Aries and like Jupiter in Cancer. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do with all of this? Like, I just really had to invite to realize that my soul was like, we're choosing a very specific angle to take in this lifetime. And it rocked me a bit. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot here to explore. And it really has just given me more and more to revisit over and over again. It's like, you don't just clean out your closet once, right? Like you continuously have to revisit over the years and see. And it's just like that's astrology for me.
Yeah. And you and I are continuing to deepen into it. As seasoned as we are, we're still just continuing to learn about ourselves. So with that, thank you all so much for joining us today and tuning into the 12 zodiac signs. So if you loved this episode, we would love to invite you to share it with another astrology loving friend that you think would enjoy this podcast as much as you do. And of course, if you would love to support Nicole and I on our journey of growing Those Astrology Girls podcast, we would love to encourage you to share on your social media this episode. And be sure, if you do, to tag us at Those Astrology Girls so we can see and also share your posts. So it means the world to us to have you all here listening with us. Also, feel free to reach out to us, DM us. We'd love to connect with you outside of this podcast too, just to deepen into this world with you. So see you all again in the next episode. Bye for now.